Broadcasting from the First National Bank Tower, this is KLEK Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council.
Jonesboro's community radio station. Your life, your music. KLEK 102.5 FM.
Good Friday morning, Jonesboro. This is meteorologist Tim Root with your KLEK 102.5 forecast. It will be partly to mostly sunny throughout the day today, and the temperatures in the mid to upper 70s, close to 80. Watch out for a little bit of fog this morning. Mostly clear overnight, near 60, and a nice weekend coming up. Mostly sunny skies, temperatures Saturday and Sunday in the low to mid 80s. Be sure to tune in during the month of October for the debates between local candidates running for office, starting with the candidates for mayor of Jonesboro, debating October 1st at 9 a.m. Your life, your music, or KLEK 102.5 FM.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. South Korea says North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has apologized for the killing of a South Korean official earlier this week. 4 people have been injured in a knife attack in Paris, close to the former offices of Charlie Hebdo magazine. A police officer has been killed in South London by a man who was being detained at a custody centre. And the mayor of Moscow is encouraging residents over 65 to stay at home amid a rise in coronavirus cases.
It's 10:02.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK 102.5 FM, and we're back on a special edition of Community Conversations. This is part 2. We are now joined in the studio with Representative Jack Ladyman. He is the current state representative for Arkansas District 59, representing the Republican Party. And as I always got to give the disclaimer, KLEK and the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, we do not endorse, support, or oppose any candidate for office. These interviews are provided for informational purposes only, but we definitely do encourage you to exercise your right to vote on Election Day, which is November 3rd. Early voting starts October 19th. October 3rd is the last day to register to vote. So, Representative Ladyman, I want to definitely thank you for stopping by the studio today. So, as always, we start off with, for those who may not be familiar with you, just tell a little bit about yourself and your background.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to come and speak with you. I really like to get out and talk to folks in the district because I spend a lot of time in Little Rock, and I want to take every opportunity to talk to folks. But a little bit about myself. First off, we're 6 feet apart here, so I want to take my mask down so I can talk clearly.
Well, and I've got a screen in front of me, so.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure that I'm following the rules there,
right,
because I believe in that. And we can talk about that a little bit later. But
yes, I do want to ask you about the governor's,
yes,
actions and your thoughts on that as a legislator.
We'll definitely talk about that. But to let folks know that may not know me, I've lived in Jonesboro probably 30 years off and on, moving around. But I'm from Clay County, born and raised in Corning up there on a cotton farm, and done a lot of traveling in my career. I've worked in 40 states and 6 foreign countries, worked for 2 major corporations. One was headquartered in Germany. So I've got a lot of business experience. My background is engineering, have a mechanical engineering degree, and worked in multiple fields in engineering. I'm in my 3rd term in the state legislature representing District 59, which is western and northern Craighead County, including North and West Jonesboro, Bono, Cache, and Egypt. It's been an honor for me to represent the folks here in Craighead County. I think that we've done a lot in the 5 years that I've been down in Little Rock to improve the state and Craighead County and the cities I mentioned. I look forward to going back and doing that. So just looking forward to a good discussion with you.
All right, so you mentioned your tenure in the legislature. What is the accomplishment that you are most proud of from your time in the legislature so far?
Well, it's hard to pick one thing. One thing that really sticks in my mind, when I was a freshman, the bill that gave county officials in the state of Arkansas 4-year terms. Instead of 2 years, it was a modification to the constitutional amendment. And I was able to get that out of the House and the Senate and get it on the ballot, and then the folks passed that in November. The reason that's important, or why it sticks in my mind, is that bill had been run for 4 or 5 sessions, and many people thought that was a good idea. It could not get passed. I was a freshman. Freshmen don't normally run those kind of bills, but I was able to get that done. We had to actually implement a couple of rules changes that had never been done in the legislature before, and we were able to get that out, and the folks thought it was a good idea. One reason I thought it was a good idea is it saved the state $7 million every election. Okay. And that was one of the reasons I went down there, was to save money, streamline the government, and also I felt like our county executives were not being treated equally. I was a mayor for 6 years at a small town in northwest Arkansas, and I know the executive branch at the federal, state, and municipal level all have 4-year terms. At the county level, they were limited to 2. So I felt like it was a fairness bill as well as a efficiency bill. So that's probably the one thing that sticks in my mind. The feel-good bills that I ran, 2 come to mind. I ran 2 bills for Gold Star families to allow siblings to be designated as Gold Star members, to have the license plate, to be able to visit military bases, and to show that their sibling lost their life in a battle zone. And that was a really good bill. I ran another bill this past session. It got 100 votes in the House and 35 votes in the Senate. And it was a bill to allow widows of veterans who died in a military, in a war zone, to be designated and get the benefits of a Gold Star family. That was a very good bill. I really appreciated the lady coming to me. Her husband was, if you remember the movie Black Hawk Down, he was one of the individuals that died in that particular action. There's a street in Little Rock named after him. She did not have full benefits because he, well, it's a long story, but she did not. And my bill allowed her and other widows to get those benefits. So those are 2 things I'm very proud of. And I know I'm taking a lot of time here, but the other thing...
We've got a full hour, so...
the other thing is the leadership roles that I've been able to get in Little Rock. I think it's critical for Northeast Arkansas that we have leadership in Little Rock. As I said, I was a mayor in Northwest Arkansas. I was on the executive committee of the Northwest Arkansas Regional Planning Commission. And I look at Northwest Arkansas, which is the economic engine of the state, and I look at Northeast Arkansas, and I wonder why we're not as good as they are economically. And we almost are. There was one quarter where we actually grew more economically than they did. So we're on the cusp of being a great region of the state. But I wonder why we're not. And a lot of that is leadership in Little Rock. We do not get the funds that we should for an area that is growing like we are and has all of the things that we have here in Northeast Arkansas. And one way to do that, there's a couple of things. One way is that we need to have leadership in Little Rock. And I think I've done that. In my second term, I was co-chair of State Agencies Committee, which is a fairly strong committee in Little Rock. This session, I'm chair of Public Health, Labor, and Welfare, which is probably the most active committee and the most diverse committee down there. And what does that do for Northeast Arkansas? It gives Northeast Arkansas a spot at the table when we're talking about things in Little Rock with the governor, with the Speaker of the House, with the President Pro Tem of the Senate. I'm at that table. And we need a voice in that room. We now have one. And so I look at that as one of the accomplishments that my fellow legislators were willing to give me that seat as chair of those committees.
So if you are if you're elected to another term, what are some bills you would like to run? What's some things that are left on your to-do list you would like to accomplish?
Well, the big question that I've been asked is, if you return, will you continue as chair of public health? Because as I said, that's the busiest committee in the House. We right now, we have over 25 bills in interim study. Being chair of that committee, that takes a lot of my time. So it's difficult to run as many bills as I would like to. But there's a number of things. I have run bills and supported the services for disabled people in Arkansas, mentally and physically disabled. We have a Human Development Center here in Jonesboro. There are 5 throughout the state. I had a public health committee, joint committee with the Senate here in Northeast Arkansas. We had one day out at the Human Development Center, one day with our hospitals here in Jonesboro, where they came before that joint committee. Many legislators that had never been to Northeast Arkansas were here and presented. Our hospitals presented, the Human Development Center presented. I'm right now meeting with the architectural committee for the Human Development Centers because they are redesigning and upgrading all the Human Development Centers in Arkansas, all 5 of them. Right now they're working on the Jonesboro facility. And I had an idea that I put forth through the director of DDS about redesigning the concept at the Human Development Centers. And Jonesboro would be the first one to take this design that I proposed. And they're seriously looking at that. And what they're doing is looking at redesigning those facilities more like an actual street area, a community area. What we have now out at the HDC is circular houses, which was good back in the 70s when those were built, and there were a lot of younger children out there. Now it's all adults out there. So it needs to be more of a street-type environment. So we're looking at completely removing those homes, building new homes in a street environment, which feels more like a community. And not only that, we want to put in group homes and maybe even a nursing home. It's a tragedy, really, when one of those folks out at this Human Development Center in Jonesboro may have been there 20 years, and they get to the point, like some of us do, where we may have to go into a nursing home. They cannot find nursing homes that will take those folks because they have every extra needs. So they may be sent to Texarkana, where they've spent their whole life here in Jonesboro at a Human Development Center. That's a tragedy. So we need a nursing home that caters to those type of individuals so that they can stay where they've lived their whole life, and they can have the service that they need, even though they move from a home environment into a nursing home. They need that. So I'm trying to promote that concept. So I would continue to run bills like that. The other thing that is in my wheelhouse, as I said, I've worked in many states and foreign countries, and I've seen the quality of life in other parts of the world. And I want to advance the quality of life here in Jonesboro and in Northeast Arkansas. So I think the best thing you can do for any person is to give them a good job so that they can have an income, they can feel like they have value, and that's what I want to work on. So I want to work on economic development. I think we need to look at the vacant factories that we have here in Jonesboro. I was the plant engineer at the GE plant out on G Street for 20 years. That plant's sitting there vacant. Many others are vacant in the industrial park. We need to put businesses into those factories. The Trump administration is working on bringing factories back to the U.S. Many of those factories moved out while I was working in industry. First they moved to Mexico, then they moved over to India, Vietnam, other countries, Malaysia, China, Japan. We need to bring those jobs back, and I think that's going to happen. You look at other states like New York and California who are losing industry. They're moving out of those states because of high regulation, high taxes. We need to be competing for those factories and those corporate headquarters. I mentioned earlier Northwest Arkansas and Northeast Arkansas and how we compare. One of the problems we have here in Northeast Arkansas is we have very few corporate headquarters. Those are high-paying jobs. we need to try to compete to get some of those corporate headquarters that are moving out of these states that have high regulation, high taxes, high COVID cases. New York has had terrible situation with the virus. Some of those companies are looking to move. And I think we in Arkansas, we have the facilities, we have the resources to take those factories and those headquarters in, and we need to be prepared and we need to be working to do that. When our Economic Development Commission folks go and talk to these companies, we need to have everything in place so that they can say, hey, these guys in Arkansas have got their act together. That's where we want to go. So there's a number of bills that can be run to help that process along, and I plan to be right in the middle of that because I think that's the best way that we can help the people of Arkansas and the people of Northeast Arkansas.
So we talked a lot about health. One of the main issues regarding health that people are concerned about is the Arkansas Works expansion, which has helped out a lot of people. What are your thoughts on keeping that, and if you're not in favor of keeping that, to replace it with something so that the people who are already benefiting from that won't lose those benefits, especially in light of COVID-19?
Well, my experience and my research has shown that Arkansas Works is too expensive for most folks. Now, there are a lot of people who are able to get that at no cost. And I think if that goes away, then we have to have an alternate that would help those folks. But there are a lot of people that are a little bit higher in the income bracket that can't get insurance. They could get Arkansas Works, but they can't really afford it. I know of people that have come to me and they said, well, I can do Arkansas Works, but the deductible is, $6,000. I'll never use that. And the expense is high because there are things that they have to cover that do not apply to everybody. So there's some issues with that, Arkansas Works. What we need to do is have a plan just like insurance companies do. If you've ever bought insurance, there are options. You need to have those options to buy the insurance you need. And again,
what about those that can't afford it?
Well, like I said at the beginning of my statement, we need to have something to replace that. Okay. And we have programs now that cover a lot of those folks that if Arkansas Works went away, it would cover them. But we need to make sure that we have enough programs in place to cover all of those folks. But most of the people that I've talked to are folks that say, I can't afford Arkansas Works. It doesn't work for me. I need something else that I can afford. If I have to pay $12,000 before it kicks in, and I talked to a person that said that was their deductible.
That's mine. So
no,
actually it's $12,500. So, but I don't qualify for Arkansas Works. So
yeah, but you know what I'm saying. It doesn't. You wouldn't buy that insurance. I wouldn't buy that insurance. I would want to buy something that fit me.
Well, I would love to have something better, but that was actually the cheapest thing I could find.
Well,
so it was kind of like, well, take it or the only alternative, at least for me, would be nothing at all. So
right.
It's kind of like, well, you get this plan that's not really all that, but it's better than absolutely nothing.
Right. But you're cementing what I've just said. It doesn't work for a lot of people. Now, it does work for some people. But that gets back to why insurance companies have multiple policies where you can choose, you can pick and choose. We need to have that same option for everybody so that they can get an insurance that they can afford and that provides for their medical needs. That's the bottom line. That's what we have to do. And we discuss and debate this every week in public health. We've been meeting, we normally meet one time a month. During the interim with the virus, we've been meeting 3 times a month and discussing these things. And I want to talk a little bit about the virus, so I don't want to run out of time here. But
yeah, well, we've got about 2 minutes left. If you can get it in 2 minutes. If not, we'll have
all I got left?
Well, if you want to, we can bring it up on the other side of the break.
Well, yeah, I'd like to talk about it a little bit if I could.
Okay. So, well, go ahead. You can go ahead and get started. We'll finish on the other side of the break.
All right. Well, obviously, the virus is one of the top subjects on everybody's mind right now. And again, we have multiple discussions every week about this. I hope that we've crossed the top of the mountain and we're on the downward slope of this virus. Let me tell you one thing that a lot of folks maybe haven't heard. Senator Irvin and I, who are co-chairs of public health, were copied on an email from the CDC to the Department of Health, Arkansas Department of Health, and they were told that they needed to have available refrigerated space for 1 million vaccines as of November 1st. So what that means is the CDC is getting close to a vaccine, and this vaccine, there's 9 of these being tested. 3 of them are in the final testing phase, and all of them have to be stored somewhere around minus 39 degrees Fahrenheit. So they have to be refrigerated, in transportation, and in storage. So we in the state of Arkansas have been asked to have enough space for 1 million vaccines as of November 1st.
And quick question on that, not to cut you off. Well, there are some people who are skeptical about vaccines for any number of reasons. What can you do to encourage people to actually take the vaccine?
Well, that's a difficult question, and I'll just tell you, my sister, who is an older person, has never taken a flu shot. I try to convince her every year to take it, but she's just opposed to vaccines. And there are a lot of people are like that. Some are religious, have religious beliefs. Others just don't trust vaccines of any type. I don't know how you convince folks. I think the main thing that you can do, no matter what the subject is to be transparent, honest, and give people facts. And that's what we do every meeting in public health, is to try to get the facts and the things that we know that are true and get that out to folks.
All right, and with that, we're going to leave it there. Getting ready to go to a break. We're speaking with Representative Jack Ladyman, Arkansas District 59. Stay with us. We're going to come back on the other side of the break with more. This is KLEK on 2.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
If you or your organization is hosting a community service event, we would like to know about it and be a part of it. KLEK will promote your event on air, online, and on social media. KLEK personalities may also attend the event and provide music and or entertainment. Certain restrictions and availability may apply. Call 870-277-1080 or email us at klek@klekfm.org. We ask that the announcement be sent at minimum 1 week in advance.
All I need is my music.
KLEK 102.5 FM.
The youth has the potential to be extremely influential in this country. While young voter participation in 2016 declined by 2% from a record 52% in the 2008 election, today the voting population includes almost equal parts millennial and baby boomers. Experts suggest it's merely a matter of time before millennials become the largest and most powerful group driving future elections in the U.S. Unfortunately, not all who can vote will, meaning that fewer young people get to directly influence issues that might affect their lives for years to come. Use the most powerful tool to speak your voice. Vote. No vote, no voice. All votes matter.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
We're back on Community Conversation on KLEK 102.5 FM with our guest, Representative Jack Ladyman, Republican representing Arkansas District 59. Before we kind of get back into what you're saying, I want to jump into the Facebook questions just for a moment. Teresa Beck asks, would you dismantle Arkansas Works before you have a plan in place?
No.
Okay. All right, so now getting back to what you were saying earlier, I believe we were talking about the vaccines, and I also want to transition that into your thoughts on the actions of the governor. Of course, you also know that Senator-elect Sullivan has filed a lawsuit against the governor for the way he has handled the crisis. So, as a legislature, just kind of want to know your thoughts on all of that.
Okay. All right. Well, before we get into that, let me say something. I need to send you a new picture I see on your community conversation. Do you have a picture
Yeah, that was
of
the
me?
one that we got from the Voter View website.
Yeah, I need to send you a new one. That picture,
please do.
Let me say, this came to my attention on Facebook. I had a Facebook ad, and a woman replied, "He looks half dead," and I'll say that picture I do, and I'll tell you why. About a year ago, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I took about 9 months of treatment, various types of treatment. We had to swap around on some, and I'm glad to say 2 weeks ago I had my 3-month scan, and I'm cancer-free. But looking at that picture, I probably was half dead back then, to tell you the truth. And it's been a long road back, but I am totally healthy now. And I just wanted to say that I don't really look like that anymore. So I need to send you a new picture. But anyway, getting back to the virus, as I said, it's the biggest thing. Our businesses are struggling. A lot of the restaurant and retail businesses, because they cannot fully open. Right now we're in phase 2. We had phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. We're in phase 2. So those businesses that are designated in certain categories, like restaurants, can only run at 66% capacity. Because of that, many of our restaurants have gone out of business or they've closed down. Hopefully they'll come back. Not only those businesses, but others, factories have had to shut down because large number of people in those factories have tested positive. And again, as I said, I've worked in factories, and a lot of times you have people working elbow to elbow, so the virus can spread really quick. I was a plant engineer at a Campbell Soup plant up in Fayetteville for about 4 years, and those folks are sitting elbow to elbow, and they're producing chicken products, food products, which, if you've noticed, some of our grocery stores have empty sections on their shelves, and that's caused by some of the factories not being able to operate fully. So it is a problem. We have opened back up parts of the state, and I, for one, have been talking to the governor's office about opening up more. I believe we really need to push to reopen. I know some folks want more local control over this situation, and I agree with that generally. I think local communities should have the right, and I guess one of the things is the mask mandate. I can talk about that. I did not personally support the mask mandate, but I'm also a law and order guy. Whatever the rules are, I want to follow those. And if I don't agree with them, then I want to work to change them using the process. So the law is the law. I want to follow that. If it's a bad law, I want to work to change it.
Let's go to Quabila for our next question.
Okay.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good.
Okay. I want to know, going forward, I know that we are in different times, and a lot of public meetings can't be held, especially with large numbers of people. If you are reelected to another term, what are some ways that you would try to engage just a little more with residents who may not be familiar with you, and just to keep them abreast of what's happening on the state level?
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a good question, and something that I struggle with and other legislators struggle with. The biggest problem I have is I'm campaigning now for re-election, and I love to go door to door. I love to talk to people because, I get input from folks on where they're at, where they live, what are their concerns, what are their needs, what can I do to help them. I love to do that. I can't really do it because of the virus. I don't know the answer to your question. I struggle with that daily. I think Facebook, I think phone calls and emails from folks, maybe they see something on Facebook or Twitter or other places and they have questions. I have a Facebook page. I have 2 of them actually. Well, actually I have 3. Jack Ladyman or Jack R. Ladyman or Jack Ladyman campaign. You can go there and post things, and I'll try to answer those questions, or maybe even we have a phone call and discuss those issues.
Let's go. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
Well, I was going to say that's what we need to do. And, you know, her question is really good, because I think here in Northeast Arkansas, one of the issues that we have is that we need to know more about what's going on in Little Rock. And, you know, why is that important? We need to get our share of the state funds. There's a lot of money available there for different things, you know, roads, I mean, you name it. If we don't ask for that money, or our representatives and senators don't push for that money, then we're not going to get it. It's going to go somewhere else. And if we're transparent and people know about that, there are multiple grant programs, a lot of grant programs out there that people could go after if they knew about that. I wish I had more time to work on those grants. When I was mayor, that was one of the things that I really, really pushed, because it helped our city to grow. It helped to meet the needs of our city, those grants. And there are a lot available that we could get if the people knew they were there and how to get them. Now, how to answer your question to make it easier, more transparent, I believe the people in Northeast Arkansas need to watch Little Rock a lot more. Not only that, and I'm not talking about any specific news media here, but our news people need to realize that we're part of Arkansas. You know, Little Rock news is what we need to be looking at. Memphis news, St. Louis news, Kansas City news, it's great to know those things, but those things do not impact our daily lives. What goes on in Little Rock, what we talk about in the legislature, affects our daily lives. That needs to be published more in Northeast Arkansas so folks know what's available. And the news medias in Northeast Arkansas can help us with that. We very seldom get interviews in Little Rock with someone from Northeast Arkansas. In Little Rock, if I go into a restaurant, it never fails. One or two people come up to me and say, "Aren't you Representative Ladyman? Aren't you Chairman of Public Health?" They know who I am in Little Rock because they see me on the local media. Here in Northeast Arkansas, I don't see that, because people are not aware of what's going on in Little Rock. I don't know how to fix that problem. I will commit to do anything that I can to make things more transparent, to communicate. You know, I tell myself every day my job title is representative. That's my title. That's what I should be doing. And any decision that I make, I first look at how that affects the folks in District 59, then how that affects the people in Craighead County, and then how does that affect the people in Arkansas. And things that are done in Little Rock that affect the whole state, people in Northeast Arkansas might not realize that affects them, because it might be a long-term thing. But a lot of the decisions that we make there, state-level decisions, are going to affect you in the future. And that's what I always look at.
All right, so let's go to the Facebook Live where we got to move forward. This kind of goes back to the economic development part. Teresa Beck asks, why do you think corporate headquarters do not choose Northeast Arkansas? Could it be a quality of life issue?
It could be, but I don't. That's probably one of the issues. That's not the only one. And let me tell you, I've opened up many plants. I've been on search committees for large corporations, and there's a lot of things that they look at. But the one thing that they always look at is, you know, are these people really wanting us there? Are they really coming after us? And here in Jonesboro, we have the best, no doubt in my mind, the best recruiting group for factories. And we get a lot of factories, and that's great. But corporate headquarters would have much higher paying jobs. They would have more jobs, and that's what we need to go for. What they typically look at when a company is looking to relocate their factories, they're looking at utility cost, access, you know, rail, road, river, whatever. They're looking for transportation. So those are some of the things that they look for. And then an available pool of skilled folks to fill the jobs that they need in those factories. A corporation looks at a little bit different thing. They may look at the financial structure in that area. They may look at the growth. Is this area a growing rate? Are they looking into the future, or are they just status quo? They do look into quality of life, and we do need to improve quality of life here in Jonesboro and in Northeast Arkansas any way that we can. I'm a supporter of that. It needs to be balanced with our needs in other areas such as health and public safety. So, we have to balance that budget and put those funds where they are needed. But we definitely need to improve the quality of life here, and that would help us in recruiting headquarters.
All right, let's go to Kabila for our next question.
Okay, I do have some questions concerning quality of life since you brought this up. I have a condition that doesn't get as much recognition as, say, cancer or diabetes or something like that, but it's a condition that affects millions of people around the world. And so I know that there are advocacy groups that are lobbying on the federal level. However, Arkansas is one of the states that has very little medical care catered toward this condition, and it's called lymphedema. And it does affect quality of life drastically when you reach certain stages. Long story short, what can be done on the state level to, one, try to advocate, push for more medical care, or even, with the insurance that I have, it only pays for so many visits with a licensed therapist for compression therapy, which is kind of counterproductive because this condition is lifelong. And so what can be done on the state level to try to help individuals? And I know quite a few individuals because I go to support groups at the local rehab hospital.
That's a good question, and I understand your situation. Do you know, is there a state organization, non-governmental, for that particular disease? Do you know?
There's a state team that works with the national team.
Okay.
That tries to also, like I said,
okay,
different people from the state come together to discuss issues, and they collaborate with the national team.
Okay. Well, that's a really good start. What can be done? I'll give you an example, and I can't give you the full medical term, but there's a disease called PANDA. It's in young children. It's it's not a very common disease, but it's a very bad disease. Let me put it that way. And they developed a group here in Arkansas to try to work to improve people's situation that had that disease. And we actually passed legislation to try to get a treatment put into UAMS so that children with that disease could be taken there and get treatment specifically for that disease, because prior to that they had to go out of state, to a center somewhere else. So that's just one example of what can be done. And the way that needs to work is your state group, along with input from local groups like yours, should approach the legislature, a member of the legislature, me or someone else, whatever district you're in, and or if you know a legislator, a senator or a representative that you can talk to. But let me put it this way, any representative or senator that's representing you should be willing to take that on. But that state organization can lobby with that legislator to do whatever you come up with that would improve your quality of life. If there's something we can do at the state level to improve your quality of life because of that specific disease, we would definitely look at that and try to do something to help you. That's the process that you have to go through. It's a slow, difficult process, I understand, but it can help you a lot, because there are a number of situations like yours out there, and members of the legislature don't really know that. unless a group comes to them and says, hey, we've got this issue and we need some help here. So that's what I would suggest.
All right, Kobe, that you have another question? If not, we'll go to some of the ballot issues.
No, go ahead.
All right, so obviously we've got some ballot issues that are going to be on the ballot for changes to the Constitution. So just kind of want to get your thoughts on each one. First, starting with issue 1, the making the highway tax permanent.
Well, typically I'm opposed to taxes. I don't like to increase taxes. This is one bill that I voted for, one bill that I support. Because I think transportation is critical, especially we've talked about economic development. That is one of the key things that we need is good roads, especially here in Northeast Arkansas. There are 2 interstates that are being developed right here in Jonesboro, 555 and then 57, future 57. If we could get those 2 completed, it would boost our economic development tremendously here in Northeast Arkansas. If we could get the 4-lane from Walnut Ridge to Poplar Bluff, Missouri done, that would bring a lot more economic development to our area. Also, 412 running from Oklahoma border through Fayetteville to Tennessee. If we could get that more developed, the 4-lane, then we could connect Northwest Arkansas to Northeast Arkansas, which would be a big boom economically for us. So, you know, the positives that I can think of outweigh the negatives when it comes to that particular tax.
All right, so what about issue 2, the term limits amendment?
The term limits amendment, I don't like some elements of that. Especially the element that allows legislators to serve, I forget what the first number is, 6 years or 8 years, and then be out for a few years and then come back. I really don't like that because I think you could have people serving, 30 years, and I don't think we need that. I'm for term limits. What I debate is what is that number? I think we need to talk more about what that number is, but I think it should be a straight serving time and not individual interims.
And what about issue 3 about proposed changes to how amendments are proposed for the Constitution?
Well, I support that. I believe we need to redo the rules on how those amendments are proposed. And I mentioned my amendment earlier that I got through when I was a freshman. I think that was number 94 to our Constitution. So by now we've probably had 100 amendments to our Constitution. And, our Constitution is something that we should really, really debate heavily before we amend, because it's been around since, 1884 or something like that. It's been around for a long time. So it doesn't need to be easy to amend that. We still need a process that is doable, where folks can amend it, but the debate needs to be long and it needs to be thorough. So I think right now it's really too easy to get things on the ballot. And what we have because of that is we have a lot of organizations from outside Arkansas that come in and actually get things on the ballot. And it's not a local grassroots bill or item that is being brought up to that level. So we need to have amendments that are wanted by residents of Arkansas and not by folks outside of Arkansas.
All right, and with that, we're going to leave there. Going to get ready to go into our final break, but stay with us. Back with more with Representative Jack Ladyman. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
How safe is your sex? This is April for Focus on Women. Ladies, let's be real for a minute. You're out with your girls having some beverages and enjoying the warm summer day. You strike up a conversation with a well-dressed, well-groomed, good-smelling brother. You exchange info, and for the next few days or weeks, you two are inseparable. Then comes the evening when it's time to share some black girl magic. Hold up. Before you roll down this path, I pray you make him suit up. You know exactly what I mean. I don't care how nice his house is, how fine his car is, or where he works. Unprotected sex can result in a lot more than an unwanted pregnancy. It can kill. Black women have the highest number of HIV infection rates of all women of other races and ethnicities. The HIV infection rate for black women is nearly 16 times that of white women and 5 times that of Hispanic women. So what does that mean? It means we as women, whether married or single, need to make sure we know our status and the status of our partners before we share that black girl magic. Remember, you can't tell someone's status by how they look, because they look just like you and me. They're the faces you see every day. For Focus on Women, this is April. Be safe and be dynamic.
Focus on Women is made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook and KNOMEGA1908.com.
KLEK thanks the staff of Life Strategies Counseling Incorporated for helping people through hard times in life such as depression, family issues, stress, abuse, and more. They offer counseling and therapy for all ages, individuals, families, and groups. They are located at 1217 Stone Street. Phone number 1-866-972-1268 or online at lscihelp.com.
Arkansas Early Learning offers child care activities and educational programs to children ages 0 to 5 that gives them a head start in life. Arkansas Early Learning is in the community at no cost. Applications at arearlylearning.org. That's arearlylearning.org or on Facebook at Arkansas Early Learning.
Arkansas Early Learning is a nonprofit organization.
Did you know KLEK has a brand new streaming app? That's right, you can listen to KLEK 102.5 FM anywhere in the world. The app is available for all Android phones and tablets, as well as iPhones and iPads. Just search your app store for KLEK and download the KLEK app for free today, and don't miss a beat of the education, entertainment, and empowerment on KLEK 102.5 FM.
KLEK 102.5 FM salutes small businesses. Small businesses promote local character and success, keeping money in the local economy, local jobs, entrepreneurship, community well-being, and so much more. Contact us today to learn more on how your small business could be featured on KLEK for as little as $25 per month.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversation on KLEK 102.5 FM with our guest, Representative Jack Ladyman, Republican, representing Arkansas District 59. I want to go to our Facebook comments to kind of get caught up on them. Derek Coleman says, as a healthcare worker, I would not advise anyone to take a vaccine. The idea of CDC or the FDA would have a vaccine during or before elections is a political stunt by the guy in the White House. Vaccine has never been created in months. It's crazy thinking. Then he says, you have 3 terms to get that money, yet we haven't received our share of the money. You are a representative. It is your job to represent us. Wex Baxter says, Jack is a great representative and is very active in helping his district. Thank you for all you do, Jack. Skip Kelly says applying for grants is not the legislator's job. He can give you the needed info to apply, but your organization has to apply for it. And Derek responds, Skip Kelly, you're forgetting something, sir. I don't think he was talking about grants. He was talking about how we can get money for Northeast. As our representative, he should figure out ways to get that money to us, making proposals that doesn't have any effect on our area, Skip. So we're going to now go to Quabila for our next question. Quabila, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here, but I would like for Mr. Ladyman to address those if he has any comments on what those individuals said, just to clarify one way or another what role the representative plays when it comes to getting funds for citizens of a particular district or part of Arkansas.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that question, because I wanted to respond to some of those. As far as getting money to Northeast Arkansas, I have worked to do that. I've met with the mayors. Again, I've been a mayor, and I understand, where that money is and how to get that. That's not my role as a legislator, but it is my role to let them know that that's available. And I've worked with, Bono, Cash, Egypt, and Jonesboro to make sure that they get these grants, and they have gotten the grants. You can talk to those mayors. I think they'll tell you. I try to talk to them about every cycle when the rural development grants. Of course, Jonesboro could not apply for that, but all the other cities in Craighead County basically could, and the ones in my district, District 59, have applied for those grants and have gotten quite a bit of money for their cities. So I've worked with them ongoing to get that money, and they have got it. My comment was that there's a lot more money that we could get. There's a lot more grants, and I think someone said it's not the legislator's job to get the grants, and it's not. But it is my job to try to help people get the grants, to make them aware. And, my question is, how do I do that? I question myself every day on that, because I want to help get as much money as I can for our region. We are on the verge of becoming an economic engine for the state of Arkansas here in Northeast Arkansas. We could do that. It's a matter of all of us working together and everybody going after the funds that are available for this area. And now I'm not talking about increased taxes or anything. This is money that is already allocated. I voted for the largest tax increase in Arkansas history. So we've put a lot of money back in folks' pocket, and that's brought money to Northeast Arkansas and helped out. But we need to take advantage of all the funds that are available and use that. Other parts of the state are doing that, and we're not doing it as much, so we need to do more. And that's what I challenge myself every day, to do more, to bring that money here. But my comment, we need to be more aware of and have more coverage of what's going on in Little Rock. There are things on a daily basis that affects Northeast Arkansas that folks here don't even know about. And, I would like to see more reporters from our area at the state capitol. KHTV, they have a person there at every single committee meeting. They interview us on a regular basis. That doesn't reach Northeast Arkansas. I'd like to see more of that. And someone talked about transparency. That would make more transparency to Northeast Arkansas if that was the case. So I hope I've addressed all those. There was a number there, I may have forgotten some, but my goal is to bring more money. It's not that I haven't already done that. And again, you can check with your local municipalities, even Jonesboro. I could go into detail, but I won't. But there are a number of grants that came to Jonesboro because I worked on those. But I can't get onto all of those details. But we are a great part of Arkansas, but we could be a leading economic engine here. We have all the resources. When I traveled to multiple states and other countries, I saw that those places did not have the resources that we have. We have one of the most fertile soils in the world, and our agribusinesses do very well here, but we really need to promote them and help them do even better. We have the largest rice dryer in the world, here in Jonesboro. Some people don't know that, but it has the largest capacity of any in the world. That's a great thing for our city. Most people don't know it. So we need to promote our agriculture. We need to promote industry. It's a big job. I try to work on that every single day, and it's my commitment to bring even more money to Northeast Arkansas.
All right, so as we get ready to wind down our interview, is there anything else that you wanted to say to the listeners and the voters out there, and also why you feel you should be reelected to another term?
Well, I think we're in a very difficult time. Everybody knows that. There are lots of things going on, the virus, the unrest that's going on around the country. Thank God we haven't had that here. So during this time, when all of these difficult situations are going on, I believe we need people in Little Rock in a leadership role that represent our district. We also need people down there that know the ropes, that know how to do things, and know who to talk to and where to get help. And I've been there long enough that I know that. And I truly try to represent all of the people of my district. So I want to be able to go back. I've learned a lot of things. I'm in a good position. I want to go back and help District 59, Jonesboro, Bono, Cache, Egypt, and all of Northeast Arkansas be the best that it can be. And I really believe I'm the best person to do that.
All right, so anything else?
No, that's it. I just appreciate the folks out there that support me. I really appreciate you. I wish I could talk to each one of you individually, but thank you very much for supporting me.
All right, and we thank you for stopping by the studio today. Do you have any contact information if anybody wants to contact you about something in the legislature or even just your campaign?
Well, as I mentioned, I've got 3 Facebook pages. I've mentioned those already. I have a webpage, voteladyman.com. My email and my phone number is on that webpage. My phone number is 870-340-7499.
Could you give it to them one more time?
870-340-7499. My email is jackladyman@gmail.com. If you want to support my campaign, you can go to voteladyman.com. A lot of information on there, a way to donate, information about what's going on. And on my Facebook pages, Jack Ladyman Campaign, Jack R. Ladyman, Jack Ladyman.
All right. Once again, we thank you for stopping by the studio. And as always, KLEK and the Voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, we do not endorse, support, or oppose any candidate for office. This is for informational purposes only, but we definitely encourage each and every one of you to exercise your right to vote. Election day is November 3rd. Early voting starts October 19th. Last day to register to vote is October 3rd. If you are concerned about COVID-19, you can request your absentee ballot right now. Go ahead and do that. But if you do, make sure that you get it returned as soon as possible, preferably dropping it back off at the clerk's office. But if you have to mail it, do it as soon as possible so that you can ensure your vote counts. Going to get ready to get up out of here. We thank you for tuning in on this special extended community conversations. We had Larry Hager on earlier, and we're ending with Representative Jack Ladyman. And of course, October 1st, we're going to start our debates. We're going to start off with the mayor of Jonesboro. So you guys stay tuned in. This is KLEK 102.5 FM. You guys have a great and blessed day.
Thank you for listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.